This video is for you if you are in your healing journey and you would like to heal yourself even faster. As most of us know who are doing this type of work, we need to change our energy. We need to notice when we're living in a low vibration energy and raise our energy. And when we have someone or something in our life that continues to trigger us, or that we view them in a way that causes us to create animosity in our body, or resentment, or blame, or anger because of things that have happened in the past, that causes us to be living and staying in this nonstop low vibration emotion. So when we think about forgiving this person, many times we wind up thinking that by forgiving them, it's going to mean that we condone their actions, or we say that their actions were okay. That is not true at all. And the other misconception that we have is that by not forgiving someone, we are punishing them. And that's not true either, because the one person we're punishing is ourselves by not forgiving someone. So let's take our power back by learning the power of forgiveness. How else can we view the people who we've always thought were the perpetrators or the cause of our suffering? So I'm going to share with you an example in my own personal life, which is a bit vulnerable for me to share, but I'm doing it because I would like to help you in the best way that I can. And I feel like if I share this, then maybe you can then implement it into your life. We all are a mirror of each other. What you see in me, or what you take from this story, is going to be reflective of how it can apply to you in your life. So it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who has done you this horrible harm in the past, or has been the cause for your condition that you're in right now. But it can be someone who is still in your life, like a family member who you view from a perspective of reacting to them, who has in the past you've viewed as being someone who wasn't very good to you and you have to protect yourself from. And so what I'm going to share with you is that I have a family member who is one of my sisters. I have two sisters. I'm the middle. And my older sister and I have butt heads many times in our life. And you might even have the same type of situation, because there are many families that have this as an ongoing theme. It's a dysfunction within the family. And I have this in my family because my mom and her sister stopped speaking when they were young, and they haven't spoken since. And it's been something that has always bothered me. And I always said I would never let that happen with me and my sisters, or anybody in my family for that matter. And yet it has happened a couple of times where my sister stopped speaking to me. And I'm going to give you an example of what happens when we butt heads. So just a couple of days ago, so we're in a messenger thread together, and I had left her a voice message based upon another family member that we are both very concerned about. And we've been sharing information about what's going on with this person. And so I left a voice message for her because it was a lengthy message, probably about 3 minutes long, but it had a lot of information that I know that she would be very interested in hearing. And I didn't have the time to type it all out. So I left it in a voice message. And instead of appreciating that I took the time to leave her that voice message, her response was, "I don't have time to listen. Can you please send it in a text?" And what that did to me was view her as not appreciating what I did do, because I did take the time to leave this voice message for her, and then ask me for something more. So we had this dynamic going between us for years, where she's very protective over her own boundaries. And if anybody doesn't respect or honor them, then she goes into reaction. And the same thing then applies, I would think, to me when I have my own boundaries, but it doesn't, because I have in the past noticed that when I share that I have a boundary, she doesn't honor it. And if I don't do things the way she wants it done, then she withholds her love and she stops speaking to me, or she holds it against me and she turns it around and then calls me names and labels me like inconsiderate or selfish. And so it puts me in a position where I feel like I'm being bullied. So when she said in this message, I don't have time, can you please send it in a text? I didn't have the time either. So here I'm thinking either I don't honor my own boundaries and just succumb to what she wants for fear of her holding it against me, or honoring my boundaries and saying, I'm sorry, I don't have time. Please listen to the message when you're able. It's not a time urgent matter. And so I did do that, but I felt myself being triggered. I felt myself, and I was aware that I was imagining it blowing up because I didn't do what she wanted me to do, that it would blow up then and she would withhold her love again and maybe stop speaking to me, because that's what's happened in the past. And I felt in a corner. Either I honor my own boundaries or I give in and just do what she wants because of fear. So I took some time. I stopped what I was doing and I went and sat in a chair, my meditation chair, and I gave myself some time to become present and to give myself love. And I did a 20-minute meditation. And by the end of that meditation, I was in such a different place. I was able to then say to myself, what is going on here? Why must she respond the way she does when I don't do what she is asking me to do? And then I realized that she must interpret when I don't do something that she asks me to do, that it must mean to her that I'm doing something bad to her, that I'm maybe not valuing her, that I'm not respecting her, that I'm not considering her. And this is what she's telling herself. So she then goes into reaction. And so when I view it from that perspective, I'm realizing that she's suffering as well, not just me. And that the reason why she comes across the way she does is because she's protecting herself, or she's feeling like she has to stand up for herself in order to have her boundaries respected or her desires met. And she's not understanding that I'm viewing her as being a bully, that she's forcing me to do things that are not within my boundaries. And so it's a never-ending vicious cycle. And this is what happens in familial, family relationships many times. And the two people can't see each other's perspective and views the other person as being just out to get them, or just being mean to them, or like I had said, not respecting them. And so I'm inviting you to bring, each time you notice this happening within yourself and either a family member or anybody else, including somebody who has harmed you in the past that is no longer in your life, how can you bring yourself to a place where you are now just full of love for yourself? And then asking yourself, how can this person possibly be envisioning you so that they're responding in the way that they do, or that they did what they did because they were suffering, because they were telling themselves something that you had no idea that they were saying to themselves, but that they're suffering within their own mind because of how they're interpreting the situation. Because we all have our own stories and we don't know what each other's stories, we don't know what is going on in the other person's mind. So what if the person who you're not, who you hold to blame or anger really was suffering within themselves, and that was the reason that they treated you that way? Are you able to view it that way? Because when you do, then you can shift from being angry at this person to feeling compassion for this person. And when you feel compassion, then your whole energy changes. And when you're able to do that, then you can turn it around and give yourself even more love. Because what I wound up doing was, after I did my meditation and I changed the way that I was viewing her, because I realized she must be reacting this way because she's feeling like she wasn't being considered, or she wasn't feeling valued or respected. And so she's responding in that way, feeling like she's the one who's being hurt and not knowing how I'm perceiving her. So I was left feeling so much compassion and love for my sister and wanting to communicate with her that it isn't what she thinks. But of course, it's not up to me to convince her. I could try to have a conversation with her, but right now, the one thing that I want to do is change my energy when the way that I respond to her. Then after I felt that compassion and love for my sister, I then turned it on myself. And I brought up all the times in my past that I can recall that I have felt this way with her. Even if I don't remember the specific examples, I know that there have been many times in my past that I really was angry with her and I felt like a victim with her and I was hurt deeply by her. And now I can go back each time and give myself so much love and tell myself that it wasn't me. She wasn't trying to bully me. It was the fact that she was suffering. It was how she was interpreting the situation, how she was interpreting me. She was most likely interpreting me as being a perpetrator or someone who is not being kind to her. And so if we continued that dynamic throughout our lives, we might get to the place that we weren't speaking. And I'm not willing to let that happen. So I'm going to choose to continue to view her in the energy of love and view her from a place of compassion and not take things personally, even though it doesn't mean that I'm going to let her dictate what I do if it's going against my own boundaries. But I can try and communicate with her in a way that's not defensive and instead stay in that place of love to try to help her understand that it's just not within my boundaries right now. And hopefully she'll honor those. And if she doesn't, that's her choice. But I don't need to get mixed up in the low vibration side of things. I can choose to remain in a high vibration no matter what she chooses or how she responds. So I hope that this was helpful for you. I'm also going to be providing you with a document with some journaling prompts to help you when you are deciding that you want to do this type of work. You can either do it when you're feeling triggered by someone, or you can take it upon yourself to do it based upon someone who you know you still hold anger towards from your past. I hope this has served you. I love you and know that you can do this.